Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Pamela Estrada. Oh my gosh. She and I have a special relationship because she was one of the actors in a short film that I produced. So we got to talk about this a little bit during our episode about how I'm like, I feel like I've seen your face and your acting so much in the last couple of months through, the pre-production wanting to cast her so bad. And she said yes. And then watching her on set and then in the post-production process, I'm like, I feel like I've just been seeing your face all the time. Anyway, she has a fantastic story to tell about how she got into this crazy industry. We have a really interesting conversation about her life, like what brought her to Canada. She's from Mexico. She came to Canada when she was 15 and came and did, a homestay and did the rest of her high school in Canada and then just stayed. And I think, we have this interesting conversation about the mindset that takes, the type of individual that chooses to do that, and how honestly I think has really been an advantage for her and her acting career. Please enjoy the incredibly hilarious and talented Pamela Estrada. Tell me your story. How did you get into this crazy business?
How did I get into this crazy business? Well, honestly, it's one of those funny things where you're like, so my family, let me take you back to 1997, the year that I was born. Just kidding. But no, my family is very much in business. So like my mom has always been like a businesswoman. Like she started her career really late. But since then she's very much been like business, real estate specifically. So my brothers joined, like my brother's a little bit older than me. So like all family has been real estate. And so I grew up in like a house of like, what business do you want to create? What business do you want to make? And so I was like, of course I'm going to go into business. Like I'm going to have my own thing. But at the same time, you could see how much of an artist I was. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, it's so funny that like I didn't want to do acting right away as a career, like off the bat, that I thought about doing something else when it was so clear that I wanted to do something in the arts. Like I would write little books, like real, like random stories in like just tiny little books and sell them in my mom's office. Like be like for 50 cents, like Mexican cents. And like, I was very much like writing all the time. I was part of the theater in like my high school. Like I was very much an artistic child. But again, the mindset of the family coming from business, I was like, well, I'm going to go into business. And around when I was 15, the local TV station came to do auditions to our high school for like a kids TV show. And I was like, great, I'll do this. Like I'll go audition. And I went to audition. It was very, very scary, but it was my first, I guess, professional audition. And they ask you to like, share things about yourself in front of the camera. And so I did. And I got selected. And so I was part of like a small roster of kids who like did the show. And I did it for like only like, I think 4 months, because at that time I was already thinking of, I want to do a year abroad, which was very popular at the time in my school. Everyone was going away for like a year abroad and then coming back. And so I was like, okay, I'll go. My original plan was to go to London. I wanted to go to London so bad, but my mom was like, that's too far. And then I said, let's go to the States. And my mom was like, hell no. And I was like, okay. And then she had read in a magazine that like Canada was like top 5 countries to like go learn and like study for like students. And so I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And the reason why I chose Toronto is because I was doing my research about TV and film at that time. And I was 15. And I was like, what place has better TV and film industry? And it was between Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. Montreal was very much video games. So I was like, yes, but like, I want TV and film. That was my goal. And then between the two, Toronto just seemed to be more of a city and like more into film and TV at the time. And so I was like, okay, Toronto it is. And that's when I moved to Toronto when I was 15, to like do a year abroad. And here I am 11 years later When I got here, I was placed with a Canadian family who I love and adore. They're still very close to me. And they were like my homestay family for 2 years. And at that time, I feel like I was so, first of all, I wasn't in downtown Toronto. I was like in Thornhill. So like, I didn't know that. I didn't know how big, I didn't grasp how big Toronto is. That I was like, oh, I'm still in the outskirts of Toronto. Like I come from a city, but it's got a tiny small city. Compared to Toronto, it's like a town. So I was like, oh, I'm like 40 minutes away from downtown Toronto. And I started looking at like, like agents and things like that, but it all felt so like overwhelming at the time. And I was brand new to the country and I was going to high school and I already had to like figure out things for myself being alone in this new country. So I was like, I'll wait. So I put it away and I focused on my high school experience and I loved it. And at that time, I feel because, it all felt so like, okay, well, am I going to stay here? Am I going to school here? Like, what's the plan? And then going back home and like talking about it. And I hadn't done any sort of like theater while I was here in those 2 years or any sort of like acting. So I was like, oh, that sort of kind of like went into the back burner. And I was like, okay, well, I guess business it is. Or like, I'll do international relations and like politics, something around that. And so I started looking at like TMU, UFT, like any sort of like college around or university around the area. And that's how I ended up doing a semester of politics at TMU. And that was like the wake up call for me to like be like, yeah, this is not what I want to do. This is not at all close to what I want to do. First of all, the change from going to like seeing the same people in high school over and over again to like going into a massive university that like you barely see any of the same people. And like that was so overwhelming to me. And so I wasn't really adapting to that change really well. And then I was just not passionate enough about everything else. Like I liked my politics class, but I was like, everything else just felt so like, bleh. And I was having like such a hard time, like, waking up and like going to class, like really rough. And so I was like, oh, I feel like I'm depressed. And I spoke to my mom about it and I was like, I'm not feeling inspired, motivated as I usually am. And I know myself, I think I knew enough of myself at that point that I was like, this is not me. This is not who I am. So she was like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was like, honestly, I'm thinking of giving acting a shot. Like, that's clearly what I wanted to do from the beginning. Like, what has been like, sort of like a good thing in my life. And she was like, okay, if you're going to do it, then do it right. And I was like, okay. So I took a semester sort of off. Like, I put TMU on hold. And I did like a very bad thing to do. I did like a semester of like this really very much a scam school of like acting. It was so bad, Janet. I can't tell you how bad this school was. Yes. And they're one of those schools that are like, and look at this person that we taught. They're already in like a show. And then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, they have really cool people. And then you get there and you're like, wait, what is this? They weren't teaching you shit. Like, it was so bad. But I got to meet some incredible people. There are people that I'm still in contact with. So like something positive always comes out of these things. And so after doing that semester, during that time, I applied to George Brown College because I was looking for programs, like school programs that in acting, but not necessarily theater. Because I was like, theater scares me. I don't want to do theater. Like, that's just too much. I want to do film and TV. And George Brown College had just come out with a program, first ever program of this kind for film and TV. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, it's just aligning. And so I auditioned and I got in and I did 2 years, with them. Got to meet some of my closest friends, at this program. Got to meet some amazing teachers that I'm still in touch with. Got to understand what the industry is like and what you need and like, kind of how to get started. And then, I graduated in 2018. And then since then, it's just been like acting. I mean, not like right now that it's full time, which I'm very blessed and thankful for. I did my certain Joe jobs here and there, but yeah, that's how we got started.
I love what a crazy story. Like
in such
no, not at all. Literally, no. Like to go from like at such a young age to come to a country like by yourself with your family at home, like I remember having like when I was growing up in Vancouver, we had a lot of international students stay at our house, and we were like the homestay family for so many people. And I remember just being like, I don't know if I could ever do this, and like looking at these students being like, oh, like,
I think I might be a junkie for that though.
You know what? That's such an interesting way to put. I think there's a mindset. I think
I thrive. I'm not gonna lie, because I've been thinking about moving to the UK for a while, and I can't tell you how much it excites me. Like, as in, like, just moving and starting over again. To me, it's like, ooh, let's do it. Like, which is so interesting. I'm like, is this something I should like talk to someone about? But no, honestly, like, I look back and I'm like, when people say, I'm like, what do you mean? It was like nothing. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel my mom very much. I mean, I give props to my mom in this because I think the hardest out of like everything, the hardest place to be was her place, not mine. Like, I can't imagine a mom being like, yeah, my 15-year-old child that doesn't even have a fully developed brain, please go some like miles and miles away from me where I can't see what you're doing, just praying and hoping that I taught you well to make any choice that you want to do and go do it. So honestly, like, props to her. The day that I got dropped off, my mom is the one who cried. I think is still very much in shock of what was happening. I was like, I'm having a good time. My depression and my sort of like sadness and like the weight of my decision didn't come until like 3 months later. Where I was like, oh my gosh, my friends are back in Mexico. They're all in the same group chat. They're having like parties. They're doing this. I'm alone. I have no friends. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. What, like, winter is coming. I'm walking everywhere when I used to like be able to just drive everywhere. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I think it got better. I was very much the kid who was like involved in everything to make friends. And I give props to myself for like thinking of that and being like, let me just be in everything. So something will come out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that mindset that obviously came from, you know, both the nature versus nurture debate, right? Like family versus like, this is you. It's how you came off the production line. It's your brain, how it thrives. Do you think that gave you the ability to honestly choose a career that's non-traditional, that's whimsical, that's not real estate like the rest of your family, to be like, no, I can do this because I did a lot of other terrifying stuff?
I hadn't thought about it. Look at you just being a little therapist, and I'm like, wait, what? Am I discovering something about myself right now? Yeah, maybe. Honestly, I feel like, again, honestly, this is just going to become all coming back to my mama. I think she did such a good job of like preparing me for life in general. And like, you know, I think she's very much one of those persons that she's doing what she loves, like for a living. And I never saw myself doing anything else but doing what I love for a living. She very much said she believes in the, you know, like, what's that saying that it's like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right, yeah.
And she's very much that kind of person. She loves, like, it's very hard to not see her working because she loves work, like doing her job. And so I was like, what's that for me? And I think I knew what it was, and I just wasn't real with myself for so many years about what it was. And I'm just, so I was like, I mean, if that's what I want to do, then it just doesn't feel like effort at times where you're like, I mean, I still get frustrated about certain things. Like I'm like, oh my God, why didn't you book that? Or like, this is sticking so long. But at the end of the day, I'm like, this is what you want to do. Like, if I was doing this as, I don't know, like in marketing or like another finance, I would probably be like frustrated with it more, or like, because it's not what I'm passionate about. So yeah, I think that's what it goes down to.
What is it about acting that you love so much?
Every single time that I think, I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was, So I did like acting classes. There was this like studio back at home. Like they do acting, dancing, and singing. And I think it was one of the teachers who was like, acting is such a versatile career, because like if you at some point wanted to like be a doctor, or if you wanted to be like a lawyer, or if you wanted to be like this and that, you just get to have like a glimpse of that, like a tiny little glimpse of that in like this. So you really get to be all of these careers, not to the full potential, right? Of course, like that's just crazy, but you just get a glimpse of like that for like a tiny bit of part, and you get to like be that character for a tiny bit of like of a day, and then you're just back to being, you know, yourself. And so I enjoy that, like, you know, that's sort of like how I see it. I'm like, okay, you know, there's been research that I've done for characters that I'm like, oh, this is like, you know, what they're doing because they're a lawyer, or because they're like, I don't know, a wedding planner or things like that. And I'm like, what's that research like? And so it's really fun to learn so much about like so many different things just as part of your career. And there's also like, I don't know, there's also like such an empathetic side to it. Like you have to have so much empathy to be able to put yourself in like so many different shoes. And I love it. Like I enjoy just going into like, oh, what does this character feel about this? And I don't know. I feel like it's going to sound so corny, but you also sort of like learn so much about yourself through like every character that you play. And I like that it's also how art imitates life, because a lot of the times you'll do like audition for something or do a scene for a class, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm dealing with right now. And it's just so beautiful that like it's constant work on yourself, I feel. Like you never stop learning about yourself, and it's a career that allows you for that. And you get paid to do that, which is insane. But yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. So you go to George Brown, and you had mentioned that George Brown, the school you went to, taught you what you needed for the industry. And I've heard differing things from people who've gone to theater schools all around the world, saying that, yep, theater school did a good job of being like, you know, it's going to be hard. You need this, you need that. It's very pragmatic. These are the logical things you need to have in the industry. But then I've heard the flip side from people who went to school and said, yeah, we did the greats, we did Chekhov, we did Shakespeare, and then I'm thrust out into the real world, and all I'm doing is like silent on camera Taco Bell commercials, and this is now my art. Like I was not I don't know what to do. Like, tell me more about the prep that you felt you had getting thrown into this mess.
That's so funny. Yeah, look, I feel like whenever I think of like, people are like, do you think it's worth going into school? And I'm like, it's a 50-50 thing, honestly. Like, because I treasure so much the time that I spent at this school, because I met, again, some of my closest friends at this time. And I think also it was the first year that they were trying something like this, like, which was a program for specifically acting on film and TV. Usually all of the acting programs are theater based. I think it's, sorry, I'm like trying to like find a way here. I'm like, what am I trying to say? Repeat your question.
What did you feel like were some big takeaways about how to, like, basically like build your career in the industry from theater school?
From theater school. I mean, I think I came from like a place where I didn't know anything, so it was worth for me to do it. Because they taught me like how to get an agent and like how do you build your demo reel? How do you build a resume when you have nothing under your belt? But I know that at the same time, like I could have potentially like the money that I spent on school, spent it on like coaching and like classes here and there. But that's something that I didn't know at the time. I didn't know that I could just use that money and like go into coaching and like classes here and there in different studios. And maybe it's for the best, because I don't know, like I got to meet some of the people that I know now and like still have those connections with those teachers. And I also, I think nowadays, how the industry is moving and shifting, a lot of schools are teaching you to create your own content. And at the time, that was back in 2016, 2017, like they very much instilled that in us too. Like we had specifically a class that was very much about like create your own content, like create your own films, short films, like feature films, like write. So I very much am thankful for that. They also, because they brought people, because they have the connections, they brought agents and things to give us talks. So like you sort of like have the opportunity and chance to like bring that back in conversations if you ever see them again. And you know, this industry is all about networking. So it was really fun, but I just feel like it was a good starting point for me to like, you know, like, oh, where do I go? What do I do? Like, how do I reach out to agents? And like, what do I need to reach out to them? But I do also like see like how some people, because I've heard from my like other people that I've met in the industry who like hated their experiences at schools, because sometimes they're also like, instead of like promoting, you know, like, oh, learn this, learn that, or like sort of like bring you up, they bring you down. And so it's like, I think one of the things that I've learned very like, I really appreciate that I've learned is that take whatever you can from like the experience, and what doesn't really like support you or like helps you, discard it. Like not everything is gonna be like, oh my gosh, everything I have to take. And even if they have years of experience, like not everything is gonna work for you. Like everyone is so different, and we were born in different eras. Like my teachers who like were teaching me, they started their career at a different stage, like in the film industry in Toronto. So like whatever they did might work for me, but also might not work for me. So just sort of like, you know, taking what works and discarding what doesn't.
Yeah.
But I feel for the people that did Shakespeare and Chekhov and are doing Taco Bell commercials. But honestly, doing Shakespeare, I will die on this hill. Shakespeare is such a good, amazing, like, way of getting into acting. Maybe not getting into it, but like understanding acting.
Yeah.
Like I love Shakespeare, and I just learned to love it last year. So like, I think they're teaching it wrong in high schools. Not everyone, but I do think it shouldn't be taught as how it is taught in schools.
Yeah. I was reading a book just recently about, you know, just how we teach people. Both my parents were teachers, and I remember liking Shakespeare in high school because it was math, right? Like it's iambic pentameter, it makes sense. And like as my science brain was like, ooh, I was lucky to have like two teachers in high school who understood that Shakespeare needed to be read aloud, not like read as a book. And because it's a play, right? But it was so interesting when you would have those teachers be like, we're going to now read Macbeth silently. And I'm like, I don't understand what they're saying. But it's so interesting to then like go see Shakespeare, hear Shakespeare, and be like, I still don't really understand what you're saying, but I know what's going on because, oh, right, it's a play. It's crazy to me. And I know they're trying to get rid of Shakespeare in schools, but like everything from Shakespeare is everything in real life.
This is why I love it so much. And because it's so like, I don't want to say, I don't know what the word is, but it's like, you can literally grab it and do whatever you want with it.
Yes.
Like, and also like, if you really dive into it, there's so much like, there's just so much meat in it. Like a lot of his female characters dress up as men. Like that in itself is like, you can have like an essay and hours into like why he did that. Like I was doing recently As You Like It, and I was like, that's just dating in the real world right now. That's literally it. Are you kidding me? Like, this is literally it. You are like playing these games to see if they like you or if not, because you don't want to get your heart broken. And like, you know, you're like, this guy is kind of like love bombing you, but you're like, are you real about this or are you not? Like, what do you want here? That's dating right now.
Yeah.
So it's just insane to me that I'm like, I was like, I wish there would have been someone in my life that like loved it so much that I was like able to like, hey, here's what it actually is.
Yeah.
But here I am It's okay.
Here we go.
Took me a little bit longer than usual, but here I am.
So you graduate from George Brown and you're kind of building your career. Since you've been in this industry, released from theater school, has there been anything that has been surprising to you?
Honestly, I'm surprised. I think, and I'm knocking on wood for this one, because I grew up with so many like with acting school, and even the few years afterwards, I was like, I heard so many like horrible and horror stories about the industry and what to expect. And I think it's just like a way of like the community to be like, just be prepared, like just in case. And which is, I'm very thankful for. But I already had that like, oh my gosh, someone's going to be like a dick to me, or like someone's going to yell at me, or someone's going to be like, But honestly, like in the years that I've been, like I've been very, very lucky and blessed that like everyone that I've met so far has been super sweet, super welcoming, super willing to like teach me like, like set protocol or like what this means and what that means and a call sheet. And that I've had such a positive and good experience that it's like one of those things that when I'm on set and if I see someone new, I'm like, that's what I want to keep carrying, forward. So I think that was very surprising to me because I was expecting it to be like a shit show. And then I was like, oh wait, everyone's just really kind and nice. Also, I guess I realized how like, as much as you get trained in technicalities and like what this is and what a first AD is and what a second AD is and what like, you're being on your mark and like your coverage and things like that, doesn't matter how much you train, like on-set experience will just never be the equivalent to like learning it in a room setting. Like, I'm sorry, like it doesn't matter how much, like it just, the minute that you're there, the nerves kick in and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I learn? What was it that like I learned about that? And like, and things just change. Like there's also so many people involved in just making happen a scene that you're like, oh my gosh. And it wasn't until recently that I felt very comfortable like being on a set and being like, oh, like asking what like my frame is and like going backwards and seeing like what the DOP and like it's like, sort of framing and like looking at it. I was like, okay, cool. And like walking around and feeling comfortable and confident in doing the things that like an actor would do. But yeah, like again, doesn't matter how much you train in a room. At the end of the day, the technical aspect of it, it's something that you can only get from being on set. That experience.
Do you have any advice then for people looking to either gain some on-set experience or, just try and get into this industry?
I mean, it's really up to like what you're willing to do, right? Like I feel like I did background starting, like I was like, let me see what that's about. So I did background and I disliked it so much. And I know some people are like, I don't really care, like that's fine. Me personally, Pamela, like I can't stand still and just watch. Like I need to be doing something, and that it just requires a lot of patience and a lot of waiting. I'm like, I'm not really good at that. So I did it once and that was good enough for me to be like, cool, thank you so much for the experience. But it was really cool to see like, oh, like they're like filming over here, the camera's there, like what it sounds like and looks like to like, be the actor. So I got to see that and I was like, okay, cool. Got that experience. And I did production. So I was on the production side. I was a coordinator, like a health coordinator for a show. And that was like a bit more like my speed. I was like, okay, I can do this. Like there's actually a task for me to do. And that was also fun just to see like, what are the roles? Like, oh, that's a first AD. That's a second AD. Oh, okay, cool. That's a director. What do they do? The script supervisor. Like when the actors get like brought into set and what do they do? Oh, they do a rehearsal before actually like a blocking before going back into the green rooms and then setting up the lights and everything for them to come back and actually do it. So like, it was really like eye-opening to see that because you hear about that in training and like in school and all of that, but it's very different to like seeing how it actually works. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And I sort of do think it gives you sort of like more confidence when it's your time and you're like, oh, I know those words. I know what they're talking about. Like, I know what this means. And also like to understand that like, okay, everyone is doing a job, and like, cause sometimes I feel like you could be very nervous of to like just even ask a question because you want to seem like you have your shit together, which is totally fair. You want to seem like you know. So you don't even want to ask a question, but then you realize I was like, oh, the 80s are pretty much like your friends. Like they're there to help you out. And so like, it sort of get those like fears and like nerves away of like asking questions. And I think that very much helped me.
For sure. Yeah. Now, it's funny because you and I have a bit of a unique relationship because you were in a film that I produced just recently. And I feel like, I've been looking at your face so much and just like watching you. And not only did I watch you a lot on set, but watched you, like leading in the casting process, seeing what you're doing, and then seeing you, what like in the editing process. And now please correct me if I'm wrong, but I know actors can do anything. But like, you are such a comedian.
Oh, this is where I'm gonna get nervous.
Like, this is gonna sound so funny, but like the way that you, like the mannerisms you had in our short, I'm like trying not to burst out laughing because I'm just like visualizing them right now. Like, you have such an awareness of, like, I don't know, like your body in space. Like, do you have any physical comedy training, and is that kind of your jam? Or am I just way out of base here?
You're way out of base, Janet. No, I don't. I think, I don't know, man. I haven't, it's so funny because I don't necessarily think that like, I was like, comedy, that's the thing that I want to do. But I think over the years, I've realized, because I write too, and I think the thing that like just comes out of my brain right away is comedy. And the more that I've like watched comedies and like sort of like seen interviews of the biggest comedians, I've learned to really love it. And I think the best actors out there, which is gonna sound so arrogant of me, come from comedy. They very much come from comedy. I see an actor that I'm like, wait, weren't you doing that like sitcom like a few years ago, and now you're doing like a very raw, like super like emotional like show, like film? And I just feel like there's the way as we humans cope with like really painful situations, or at least most of the time, there's some comedy behind it. And I feel like there's a link there, like something there that is just like the most like very depressing like moments in your life, like something that like to get you out of that is like you sort of make a joke, or like you have to make light of it. So I just, I don't know. I will say I'm like, I think my family is quite funny. So I feel like that's also like, I don't even think it's just a family thing. I think it's also a Latino thing. Like we just are very like, our love language is comedy and roasting, and like very much in that vine that maybe that's why it's easier for me to jump into it. But I never really did anything specifically in comedy. I think I was like, that's what I like. That's what I enjoy. And as for, when I started taking classes after graduating, I started taking classes, acting classes, and I started doing theater. Like I started doing plays. And that's what like sort of like brought up like the physical like comedy, as you call it. Cause I was just like, my coach was like very much like, try to use the space. You're like clearly want to like use it. So like go for it. And I think the using the space is also a Latino thing. Like we're very like big mannerisms. We're loud. So it was just mixing sort of like those two things. And yeah, I don't know.
And you have a dance background.
I do.
Yeah. Do you think that plays into it as well, too? Because film and TV can be so, like, here, right?
Yes.
But, like, being a dancer, being more aware of where you can be spatially, right?
I feel like I'm more aware of my body. Like, I think I'm, like, very much, like, more in tune with that. And maybe, like, unconsciously, because I'm not thinking about it when I do it. But I think unconsciously, because I've done it for so many years, like my body already knows that it's like, oh, like this is what we need to do. But yeah.
Yeah. Neat. Neat.
Yeah.
There's such an ease you have in front of the camera that is really, really fun to watch. There's an ease, and I'm like, there's such a, I don't know, I was about to say the word freedom. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, there was like, it just felt so, I don't know, just watching you felt like I was watching a real human being on camera, which I think can be really tricky, obviously, sometimes. And I know it's something that all actors struggle with, but I don't know. There's just a way that you, again, it's how you move your body in space that I'm like, yeah, you're meant to be there. Like, it's just so obvious that you were like, this is your thing. It's just, it shone through when watching you. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very excited to watch it. Because I was having fun with the script. I genuinely,
Good.
It was such a funny script and it was so physical. It was very much like, you had like, the comedy was in the script, but also like in the way that we reacted and like certain physical parts. So I'm very excited to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite moments in your times like on set, on stage, in an acting class? Any funny stories?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. The latest one that happened, I have two. So the first one was earlier last year. I got to work with a cast of like almost all Latinos, which is like a dream come true for me. Like, honestly, like that's one of my biggest fucking goals. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I can swear.
Well, you can fucking swear.
Oh, okay,
Go
okay.
nuts.
I'm like, I don't know. But I want more of our community to be represented on screen, and theater. But yeah, I got to like work with a lot of them, got to like from the States and from here in Canada. And I got to like build an amazing relationship, through that set, which was amazing. So yeah, it was lovely. Like I rarely get those opportunities. And when I do, it's just so sweet. So yeah, I was very, very happy. And then the other one was on another show. So my first show that I ever did was like in 2021. And then last year I was performing their show, and the team that I worked with in 2021 were also in the crew in this show last year. And so I got to see so many familiar faces. It was just like such a like full circle moment that I was like, oh my gosh, how's it been? Like, what are you doing with your life? And I love them. Like, they genuinely, again, from my first experience, they made me feel so comfortable and like, safe. Yeah, they were so sweet. They like brought me into their little crew. And so to see them again, like a few years later and like work with them again, it was just such a lovely experience. And I had such an amazing day on set. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you are looking forward to coming up?
Oh my goodness. What am I looking forward to? Honestly, this year has been like full of opportunities, like already, like within the first 3 months, that I'm just so excited. I think the more as the year goes by, I realize that a lot of like the things that happen in my career are very much, I have the power to make them happen. And I think that's like a mentality that has shifted a little bit more. Because honestly, I think I did a skit about this like recently on a story where it was like, I wish I would have just been casted right off school into like a multi-million like short, like film or like show. But the reality is that I think God is like, nope, no. You can write a content for yourself, like, I'm like, oh, I'm being forced to like write for myself and produce for myself. Okay. I see what the vibe is. So I think working with the Firecracker. So I did the same thing that you, Janet, did. And I work with a really good friend of mine, Lucy. She's also Mexican. And I think it's so important to find people that you can collaborate with and that the relationship is good enough to like, not good enough, but like it's a good relationship that you feel free and vulnerable enough to like collaborate.
Yes.
It's a very tricky situation because like you don't know where people land in like, are you open to feedback? Because I'm open to feedback. Like, is your comedy the same as my comedy? Like, what are testing the waters, And Lucy and I genuinely like we're going into this not knowing if like how it was going to be. We had worked together before. It was for like a little sketch. So like it was very simple, very easy, but this would be like a full month and like a full short film. And we ended up working so well that it was like, oh, we're ready for the next one. So I feel like finding that was like, okay, so we really want to keep collaborating and like creating things together. So I think that also excites me. Yeah. So just really creating and getting to meet more people. I started a community of Latinos in TV, film, and theater last year that I'm very, very passionate about. And I have a lot of ideas for us this year. And so basically I feel like I'm at a point where like I can like help people a little bit more, like people who are like up and coming in the industry, that it's like, okay, I was lost when I started a little bit. So I don't want you to like lose momentum or like lose the time right after graduating, into like, what do I do now? So it's nice to have someone to like help you in that. And I want to be that person to help people to come into the industry. And just to keep us more together and unify us and, hype each other up, because there's a lot of great Latin talent. So yeah, that's awesome. What I'm excited about.
That's so cool. It's so funny because that goes right back to what you were saying when you were on set. Like there were people who helped you, and now you're the person who can like see the newbie on set to help, and then just expanding it forward into, community. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
Ooh, final words of wisdom or advice. It's not my advice, honestly. I heard it from someone else, but I really enjoyed it. And it was said, I think anyways, it's from a TikTok, but someone said it, Jessica Chastain said it to someone else. And I really loved it. And it was like, try to do at least one thing a day that reminds you of being an actor. So, and that's just for anything. Like if you are looking to be a director, if you're looking to be a DOP, do one thing a day that reminds you that you want to do that. And I think that's beautiful, because there were days where I was doing my corporate job that I was like, ooh, I feel drained of any energy to do any sort of like creative thing. And I love it. Like I like my days usually right now, it's like I will just read plays or like read a script and like work on this. And it just fuels that. Like it keeps you inspired. It keeps you like close to your goal, and it keeps you just motivated. So if you are not currently doing full-time what you want to do one thing a day that reminds you of that goal. That's my advice. Well, Jessica Chastain's advice.
I love that.
Can I shamelessly plug something?
Hell yeah, go for it.
Okay. I'd like to shamelessly plug the nonprofit organization that I work with, which is Paws Across the Water. It's a foster organization for dogs. They're looking for fosters. We're currently looking for fosters because we have a few dogs that are trying to come to us in Ontario. But because we're not a shelter-based organization, we're just foster-based, we need fosters to help us to get those doggos here. So, yeah, if you're, honestly, I've done it for almost 3 years now, and you can take breaks. You literally can take breaks. You don't have to be constantly fostering. Like I take breaks because sometimes my schedules are crazy. And it's just for a few months. They come. They're literally the sweetest dogs you'll ever freaking meet, because they're just looking for love. And yeah, you just have them for a few months, give them all the love that you can, and then they go to their forever families. So if you are
do they have a website? Because I'll add it to the show notes.
They do. It's pawsacrossthewater.ca.
.ca. I love it. I will add it to your show notes. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. You're the best. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Pamela, for being my guest this week. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your amazing story with me and with my guests. And also, thank you for sharing your talents. Oh, and she's such a talented actor, you all, with my production company. Thank you for being in my little short film. She was the number one person we wanted to cast. And when she said yes, all of us in the casting process were just like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And she crushed it. She's such an incredible performer. I hope you all will tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.